these children.
Yeah, we might not be ready for that jelly.
Man, 1999 called. What's that reference back?
Is it really that old? Hold on.
Yeah.
If not more so, to be honest.
I had that album. I had the Survivor album.
All right, we are live, guys.
What year is this?
Guys.
Oh, we're on television.
We are.
2001. There we go. We did it. Almost.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Erin Campbell.
Yar.
Ruben Bressler.
I'm pretty sure it's Ahoy. Ahoy, mateys.
Ahoy, R.
You pirate your way. You get your booty your way, I'll get my booty my way.
Hoist the mainsails. Shiver me timbers.
The timbers must be shivered, as it were.
And lily me livers.
Well, and it's cool because
Pirate rap.
we all got to go to the pre-release, which was
Yeah.
I got to birthday pre-release on Sunday.
Wow.
Happy
birthday. How old are you?
37 trips around the Daystar.
Wow, 37 age counters. That's
right.
A lot.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
It's
that.
not. You don't get another birthday for another 3 years, though. This is just like counting down to your. You don't get a birthday. Did you have cake?
I had pie.
Ew.
Erin, what do you think about that? What do you think about birthday pie? This is what the episode's about now. This is no longer Magic Pie.
It was key lime. It's my favorite. I love it. So there you
And
go.
you're in Florida, so you're close enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fair enough.
Don't even get me started on cake versus pie.
She's gonna keel haul you, Evan.
So Ruben, you know the magic to get the contest into the YouTube chat because I don't.
Vaguely, yes.
Fair enough.
So
But
it's the magic of the space bar. I'll do my best.
You're right. However, the contest has been linked in the Twitch chat, and it's currently being linked in YouTube. It's going to be auto-tweeted at 11:15 Eastern Time from the Magic Mike's account if you want to check that out.
Perfect.
That said, we're giving away a booster box of Ixalan, just to be clear. Thanks to our friends at CoolStuffInc.com. If you're outside of the U.S., outside the U.S., you get a gift certificate. Inside, it is a booster box sealed for you. New set.
Wow.
Now, speaking of cool things for free, Erin, you got something pretty cool for free from a fan.
I did, and I wanted to take a second to thank him. So on Sunday, I came home to find a package waiting for me from the art of Ed Beard Jr. I didn't order anything from Ed Beard Jr., so I was very confused as to what this could be. So I opened up the box and I teased it a little bit on Twitter, and it is an artist print of Stinkweed Imp.
Wow.
I don't know if you guys can see that. From a listener named Scott, MTG Pack Foils, I believe, on Twitter.
He's in the Twitch chat right now.
He's in the Twitch chat. I see you, Scott. I see you. And Scott got me this print. It is signed by Ed Beard Jr. See that little signature there in silver. And came with a certificate of authenticity. And then on top of that, in the corner, it's signed Erin the Dredge Queen. And I literally cried when I saw this. I was just, this meant so much to me. And then apparently there was more. So like I'm tweeting about this, I'm crying like I'm wont to do. And then Scott goes, "You didn't get the rest?" And I'm like, "There's more." There's also a signed playset, the silver marker there, of Stinkweed Imps from Ed Beard Jr. This is amazing and fantastic, Scott. I cannot thank you enough, and I love it. So thank you.
I have to butt in and say that Scott was the winner of the person who identified my D&D map, and I still haven't sent you your water bottle.
Get him a water bottle.
I'm a lazy person, but I have to send you your water bottle.
So,
Scott.
Thank you. Yeah, that was terrific. Certainly made Erin's day, which is great.
Yeah.
I have posted the contest to our Twitter as of right this second. If you go to twitter.com/magicmics or Magic Mike's Cast, sorry, because squatting. You can find it. It is great. Okay, so Ixalan Prerelease. For our first pick, we're going to talk about the Ixalan Prerelease. All three of us went. I got a pool that had terrible rares. I played 0 rares. It was bad. However, I did open 3 of the pacifisms, the 4-mana pacifism cards, 2 Unfriendly Fires, which is 5 mana, deal 4 to something, and 2 of the deal 3 to something, but if you have attacked, if you have raid, you deal 6 to it instead at sorcery speed. So I just had removal for days and no way to end the game. I had 2/2s out the wazoo. I had the 2/1 little haste dinosaur guy who was great. I had the Conquistador, not the Conquistadors, the 3-mana spell that makes 2/1/1 vampire lifelink.
Right. Queen's Companions or whatever.
Queen's Companions, yeah. Could this format possibly be any slower? I don't know. I mean, we got into serious stare downs in my sealed event personally, because everybody's gaining life. Everything has ridiculously huge toughness, and you just kind of stare at each other for a little while.
Yep.
But, you know, I had a lot of fun. I had to leave after round 3. I did go 2-1 at the time, which was fun. But, yeah, I mean, you know, I got there with my little 2/2s from time to time, but it was tough.
Yeah, 2-1 with no rares in this particular sealed format is quite the achievement. And you're right, this is one of the dirtlier sealed formats that I've played in recent memory. I remember seeing a lot of 9/9s for 8 mana, then attacking and getting +5/+5 and trample for another 8 mana from the 2/2. That was like an end game scenario for a lot of people. Yeah, this was quite the dirtily format. It's a lot different than draft. Those little guys or the 8-mana abilities on those little guys are a lot less relevant in draft. But yeah, my midnight pre-release, I played Big Stupid Red Green Idiots. And then on Sunday, I entered another one and played Pirates. I actually ended up opening a Pirates, like a blue-black aggro pool, and loved every minute of it. It was amazing. Tempo Pirates, if you ever get the chance, that's my new fetish.
Did you hear the rumor going around about a pirate deck in Legacy?
No.
There's a rumor going around that there's a pirate stompy deck that is doing well in Legacy, and it's doing so well that the people piloting it are dropping from the leagues at 5-0 or before 5-0 because they don't want the list to be out there. I don't know if this.
Amazing.
I can't confirm that, but that's the rumor going around the Legacy circles, is that there's a deck out there, and the people that are piloting it are keeping the tech secret for some reason. So don't be surprised if you see pirates making waves
they crush it
unintended
at
in Legacy.
Weekend?
Yeah.
Isn't Eternal Weekend soon?
2.5 weeks, yeah.
That's probably why. They're just going to test out the Pirates, and the Pirates are going to steal Eternal Weekend. I love it.
Yeah, the boyfriend and I'm sorry.
No, I'm so excited about a Pirate Stompy deck. That sounds fantastic.
And it's especially hard, you know, in the older formats. You know, it's much more. It's harder for new tech to sort of break through. You know, because those are really high criteria to meet. But the boyfriend and I play two-headed giant. We're both not really sealed players in general, but we enjoy two-headed giant. We find it's a good sort of team building exercise for us, and you know, it lets us know what the new cards are, and we don't take it too seriously, so we have a lot of fun. He opened 2 copies of Kapala. It was his promo, and then he opened him, and he plays Merfolk in older formats, so he was already set. Like he had his Merfolk, he had 2 Kapalas, he was good to go. We opened the Flip Gaia's Cradle. We also opened the Flip Lotus Veil, so we were doing pretty well in that regards. We also got a couple crummy rares. We got the Sacrament, where you gain life and then you shuffle it, and we also got the one where you could exchange life totals. So he ended up playing just Merfolk with a lot of mana sinks, which was very good for him. I went from Dredge Queen to Dino Queen. I was playing dinosaurs. I had the tools for a vampire deck, but I was really concerned that there was no weight behind it. Like, I knew that I could go wide, but I didn't have like an engine. I didn't have any buffs, and I was like, I wasn't sure that just a bunch of 1/1s with lifelink could get there, especially in two-headed giant. And so I had built the vampire deck as sort of a backup plan, because you can change your deck, you know, in sealed. You can do things like that. And so I had the dinosaur deck. We did game 1, and I was like, if I hate this or it sucks, I'll go play vampires. And before we knew it, we were just winning, and we ended up finishing 4-0.
Yeah.
And so we did very, very well. We worked well together. All of our teams were great. The games were pretty, even the games were slow, even in two-headed giant. I think we went to time twice out of 2 games. And yeah, dinosaurs are great. We didn't even have that great of cards, but we had 2 of the dinosaurs. I love Enrage as a mechanic. I think that's really, really cool. We had 2 of the green ones that gain life. We had 2 of the red ones where if it takes damage, you take damage. I crewed a ship. Dinosaurs crewing a ship feels amazing. Just the mental picture of some dinosaur crewing a boat. I had a lot more fun than I expected to this time around, and I'm not a drafter, but I would 100% play sealed again. Like if you gave me 6 packs and said build a deck, I would totally do it again. I had a lot of fun. That's
fantastic for me. Like and just one of the cards that kind of jumped out at me was the Legion Conquistador, because for me it was a question, because I didn't know if it was any good. I had 2 of them, and I was like, well, I'm in white, and maybe it's good. I don't know. And that card was fantastic. Like, on turn 3, it draws you a card, and in late game when I would draw it, I'd be like, okay, play it, find the other one, play the other one, go. And then all of a sudden I had 4 power, 4 toughness, just kind of out of nowhere. So to me, I thought that card was great. However, and as we'll talk a little bit later, maybe the draft format doesn't really kind of work out to play a lot of them. I'm not really sure. Ruben has a lot more experience in that regard.
And also, Legion Conquistador, I saw a pauper list with Squadron Hawk and Legion Conquistador.
Oh, no.
Using Brainstorm and Dream Cache to be able to draw a lot of cards and just have like a blue-white, draw a bunch of cards, gain a lot of advantage deck.
Oh man, Alex Ullman is probably feeling himself right now.
Potentially an archetype, a new archetype there, thanks to having another new version of Squadron Hawk.
Wow.
So, Ruben, how did your pre-release go, and what were some of your sort of surprise hits? What worked for you?
I built, I opened my pool on Friday at midnight, and I had a red-green dinosaurs deck. I didn't need a third color. I just had a red-green dinosaurs deck. I chose to splash blue because I had the Merfolk that puts a bunch of counters and draws a bunch of cards for a bunch of counters on your things. The blue the Merfolk uncommon. But I had 2 red and or green dinosaur rares. I had 2 cost reducers and a Drover of the Mighty. I had 14 total dinosaurs plus my extra creatures, and I had enough removal to support it all. I was like, all right, we're doing it. And then I play round 1, and I lose to a deck that also had all of that, but slightly bigger. Like, they had a 7 mana... The 7 mana Lord that can pump out 3/3s.
Oh, I had that.
Could never deal with it because none of the burn spells can deal 5 damage.
No.
So like I just lost to bigger dinosaurs, and then I looked around the room after I lost. Was like, man, I had this pool that I thought could go 9-0 at a GP, and I'm looking around the room and I'm like, everybody's got these pools with giant dinosaurs in them. I need to be able to kill other giant dinosaurs. And I looked at my pool and I'm like, well, I've got 2 blue bounce spells and the new Griptide, and some other blue interactive things. That's probably the direction I need to go in. So I rebuilt my deck, splashing blue officially, and then 3-0'd the rest of the pre-release, because I was able to actually sustain the advantage that I got from my. I had the Regisaur Alpha, and I had the Burning Sun's Avatar as my big rares, and they were really good. But then my opponent would play a 9/9, and then I'd die.
Get Brontodon.
I got Brontodon. Did.
You know what card was?
I had a couple of the Fiery Cannonades. The deal 3 raid deal 6, but then I always had to sacrifice a creature to cast it. I had to chump attack to be able to trigger the raid. And then Sunday I opened a blue-black aggressive Pirates pool, where I had a copy of Us, I had a copy of Wanton Scoundrels. And the one time that I got to play that into Pirates Cutlass, attack you with a 6/4 on turn 3, was everything I want to do in my life. It was quite tricky. All the raid triggers, all the bounce effects. I had 2 of the Pirate Blink spell, which was really good. I love the Pirates archetype. Sealed is super weird. It's super slow. It's super grindy. Shorekeeper draws you 3 cards a lot of the time. It's really weird. But then I've been drafting a bunch, and the draft format's a lot quicker. You can theoretically draft fast aggro decks, either mono white or mono red or even Boros, and then you can also have One with the Wind and Swashbuckling on your 1-drops to be able to get in there for infinite damage super quick. The formats are super different, but they're both a ton of fun.
Now we'll talk a little. Go ahead.
I was gonna agree with you, Ruben. It's funny that you mentioned how dinosaurs seemed super obvious to you, and you were like, I guess we're doing dinosaurs then, and then kind of realizing that maybe pirates was the way to go. Because I agree with you. I feel like pirates was the one tribe that didn't jump out at you. Like even when we were building our pools for 2-Headed Giant, vampires seemed super obvious, merfolk again super obvious, and then pirates just kind of felt like pieces where like you're looking at it and you're like, there's something here, but it felt like it would take more work to make happen. And so I agree with you. It definitely was the less intuitive of the tribes, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, and we'll talk a little bit more about draft, because the pros have came out now a few days in, we'll get to that. But and your mileage may vary. I mean, like I was out there like saying, hey, I think the sealed format is like ridiculously slow and everything's grinding.
It's extremely slow.
But then I got people who were like, it was blisteringly fast. I lost in like 5 turns or something silly, and I'm like, well, I don't know what pools you're playing against, but it took me forever to win my games, and I was playing the aggro deck.
Yeah,
it was weird.
Aggro.
Aggro. Now, there was one interesting bit about Ixalan. Now, with the release of Ixalan, not only are Planeswalkers now legendary, and that's great, there's also a rules change that specifically talks about optional choices. Now, the 2 easiest cards to bring up and talk about in this manner are Ghost Quarter and Path to Exile. If you Path to Exile a creature, and your opponent exiles the creature, and nobody says anything, and you start playing the rest of your turn, before, that was fine. Now, you're going to get in trouble. Because what you need to do is say, hey, you sure you don't want to go search for a land? Or you're not searching for a land, right? Like, that's the thing. It's funny, and Aaron, you can speak to this a little bit, where they kind of tell you to not remind them, but you're kind of reminding them by asking them if they want to skip that trigger.
Yeah, the wording is very confusing. I actually have the official blog entry here from the Magic Judge...
It's in there somewhere.
From the Magic Judges blog. And it says here, it says you still don't have to remind them while they decide if they want to respond, but once it resolves and the time comes, no making assumptions or you'll be hung from the yardern. It's pirate themed, for a communication policy violation. So it's interesting that they're saying you don't have to remind them, but the very act of confirming that they don't want to do it is essentially reminding them. So there's very confusing wording there.
Right, because you're like, so you're skipping that trigger, and they go, oh, right, and then they go search for a land. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you're doing. It's fine. But it's just important to know for those who like to play in competitive formats, particularly modern, obviously, you can't just kind of let that stuff slide and then be like, yes, I got away with it type thing. Like, no, you have to confirm they really didn't want to do that. Right. So one of the other big stories this week was there is a $1 million weekend coming for Magic. And some of the details came out. Not all of the details came out. But on the Wizard site, there's the $1 million weekend. There were Pro Club updates and more. The Pro Club updates, I don't even want to sort of try to explain because none of us are pros, and none of this stuff really affects anybody but maybe 70 people on the planet. So let's talk about the ones that affect
they're
a little
also
more.
Minutia. Like, if it was big changes, like #PayThePros style, we would talk about it, but this is, like, not a... I mean, some of the level numbers have changed. Like, it's tweaks.
Right. The point totals and how many events count and stuff like that, and that's fine, but nothing that really we would see an impact on the outside.
Correct.
That said, the Magic 25 weekend is going to have a total prize pool of $1 million, which is going to be split between the Pro Tour 25th anniversary and a special 25th anniversary exhibition event. Now, the 25th anniversary, Pro Tour 25th anniversary in Minneapolis, Minnesota will have a prize pool of $850,000 with $150,000 going to the winning team, which is pretty friggin' spectacular. Everybody's making $50K. That's amazing. We actually have like a really big number now for a Magic tournament. Like a 7-digit.
That's a big number. That's a team. That is a team Pro Tour, is what that is.
Absolutely, as it should be. But they kind of go on to talk about some of the details in terms of what per player is getting. And there's pro points and stuff, and that's cool. But then they kind of mention this other thing really quickly. And I'm going to bring it back to us here, but they mentioned here that the Magic 25 weekend will also feature an invite-only 25th anniversary exhibition event. More on this event will be revealed in 2018, but it will have a $150,000 prize pool. So if you have a tournament and you only get in it by being invited, would you call that an invitational?
I would.
You could. You certainly could.
Do that. A little branding there. A little branding action. Because if I were to give $150,000 to just a small handful of players, I would probably brand it as such. And in fact, if we're doing the Magic 25, if we're talking about nostalgia, we're talking about things that they did 10 years ago that they don't, 10 plus, that they don't even do anymore. Because for whatever reason they wanted to kill it. But the Invitational coming back, I think, would be absolutely amazing. And for me, just to take it one step further, I feel like maybe they're not going to give them their own card, but maybe they'll give them some part of the experience of Magic the Gathering Arena, because it's a lot easier to make yourself be digital, to put yourself in a digital space, to have an artist come up with something and immediately slap it in the game, or immediately put it on some sort of special event or special artwork for a card or whatever, than it is to, help them design a card, get the artist involved, make sure the artist can do faces, the artist's face, has to match the card effect, and then it has to be balanced, and then blah, 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 and like 3.5 years later, the card finally shows up. And that's cool and all, but, quicker is better. And I would love, if nothing else, maybe they don't let them make their card, but maybe they give them some sort of representation in the game.
Right.
That would mean
They just put their art on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something to be a throwback. Certainly that would be an easier thing to implement on a digital game than trying to go through the slings and arrows of Magic design and development and getting the cards on paper and releasing them in an actual set. That's certainly much more difficult. But yeah, that would be great to see. Another quick note that I wanted to add is that this is during the Minneapolis weekend, which is August 3rd and 5th, 3rd through 5th, which is Gen Con next year. So this is a direct competitor with Gen Con weekend, Magic 25 weekend. Yeah.
Why? Why do they do this?
Magic the Gathering's no longer involved with the Gen Con.
But didn't Magic get its start at Gen Con? Like, that's so insane to me that we're celebrating 25 years in Minnesota. Like, how did we, when I think of Magic...
We're moving out of our parents' house, and I don't need you anymore, Dad! That's why. That's why we're doing it. We're making the nerds choose which one they love more.
I don't even mean that necessarily. I mean, that is part of it, but I also wonder how we came to, when I think of Magic the Gathering, I don't think of Minnesota. I think of either Washington, I think of Gen Con, I think of there being so many other places that it just feels so random. And now that you mentioned that, it just feels like, really? Like, you're not even going to... I think that would have been an amazing opportunity to have it at Gen Con where it started, to sort of complete the circle, tie it back. Like, I don't understand why they consistently miss these opportunities. I think they did it with 20 years too, where they didn't do a damn thing at Gen Con, and it's like, are you serious right now? Like, I don't care if it's a marketing thing. I don't care if I don't care if there's like a good corporate reason for it. I think it's really egregious that you just do nothing for it. Like, how? Like, I don't understand.
They did nothing for their 20th anniversary period, which was the real crime. They celebrated the 15th, but the 20th came around, and as I was explained, that it was like, well, this is going to make Magic look like an old game, like an old, washed up whatever we care. Like, are you serious?
Well, even when we had when we went to so when we were in Vegas, I don't know if you guys might not know this, but there was a creator summit, basically, where they had invited some content creators to have just this little powwow, and we had even asked them, like, hey, we noticed that you guys haven't been at Gen Con anymore, and the answer that we got was that they felt like Gen Con was they were pandering to an audience that already knew who they were, and so they were like, we want to go to cons where people don't necessarily know what Magic is, and I'm like, well, that's cute for like 1 or 2 events, but you still can't deny that. I don't understand how you can still do that, but you can't. How can you just? I don't understand.
Also, the argument of they already know who we are, when there are more, like, I don't know if you know this, but people are continuing to learn how to play Magic.
Yeah.
Every year, more and more people are being born. I don't know if Magic Digital Research realizes this, but every year more people are introduced to Magic. Some of them, it's going to be their first year at Gen Con. Like, how?
It's like a newborn baby. It happens every day. But, like, for me, Gen Con is very much a celebration of gaming. Now, D&D 5th edition has been doing unbelievably well. And it was, it was everywhere at Gen Con. Not officially, but it was everywhere at Gen Con because people love the new book. Check it out. Ruben's got his right there, the monster manual hanging out. Like, that stuff is huge. So to not have a presence for D&D, like, I'm hoping that they're going to do this Magic thing, up in Minnesota, and they're going to do the D&D thing at Gen Con, because that's where it needs. If anything else,
Dragons at Gen Con is. Did they really not have much Dungeons and Dragons at Gen Con?
No.
That's atrocious. The fact that Gary Gygax created Gen Con at Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, in the Lake Geneva Horticultural Society Gathering Hall, and at the second year of Gen Con introduced Dungeons & Dragons. It's a travesty to not have Dungeons & Dragons at Gen Con. That is horrendous. Yeah. Magic, okay. Magic, like, is still bad, but no D&D is... actually a slap in the face.
Gary is spinning in his grave.
I mean,
rolling over in his grave like so many D20s.
There is always, and it's so awesome to see this sign, there's always a sign at Gen Con for first edition D&D. Like, you can go play first edition, old school, 1970, whatever.
They go on. Yeah.
Absolutely, which is super cool.
6 of you know what they go are.
It feels, cool. Basically, having been there twice now, it definitely feels like Wizards has ceded that area to Paizo, also known as Pathfinder. Or now, the product they announced there was Starfinder. And Starfinder was huge. They sold out of their entire print run. There were people lining up to get a table to play this game for hours at Gen Con. And had D&D been there, I have a feeling, they would have their own hall, they would have their own events, they'd have special things they do only at Gen Con. Like, this is something that I hope they at least, if they're doing this Magic thing elsewhere, take D&D to Gen Con and celebrate it.
Right. I mean, Pathfinder is almost Gen Con. Like, right after first edition, Pathfinder kind of split off with second edition because some people wanted more rules and some people wanted less rule or fewer rules. And that's where, like, second edition and third edition split off from Pathfinder. This is like the Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, the legendary split between the two of them, if you know anything about D&D history.
We don't.
But basically what happened is, like, there were a couple of people who were, like, right at the top. One of them was Gary, one of them was Dave. This was back during the TSR days. And then they split, and that's where Pathfinder sort of went, was for more stats, more things.
Right. Pathfinder took the third edition rule set and kind of and there was an open license where you could you could take the third edition rules and there was sort of like an open license, so they built a whole rule and campaign and books around it, and then they kind of kept going. This
is the downside of this is where my brain went. This is the downside of having a Microsoft brain at the top of Wizards of the Coast, is because you can have Magic Digital Next. You can have these excellent new millennia ideas that are going to tap into the reality of what kids want today and get that Hearthstone money. But you're going to lose people if you're not at Gen Con. Why even celebrate a 25th anniversary if you're just going to literally be a competitor of Gen Con for the weekend? That is weird. Like, you could have chosen any other weekend. It seems like it had to be a conscious decision.
I don't know if I go that far. I've definitely seen things where, like, you have to book these things very far in advance, and sometimes you're like, oh God, that actually blah blah.
Okay.
Blah. I don't know.
It does feel like you are kind of forgetting where you came from. Like, I think Ruben's bringing up a really good point.
I don't know if it was Chris Cox's decision. I don't want to, spread rumor here, but that is a danger, I think.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So we learned some more details about Arena today. Magic the Gathering Arena. There was another live stream. Did we really know? Sort of. Chris Clay, the principal game designer for it, was there with Nate, and they were kind of answering questions the whole time, and there wasn't a lot that they could say, and it kills me because you kind of have these streams where, like, that, like, I don't know, 80% of the questions are just going to be like, well, that's still in development, we're not really sure, we're going to look and we're going to see what the players feel, blah, blah. I mean, like, they keep going on, but at least they confirmed a few things, like, for example, no trading.
That's the big headline.
No trading. Zero trading. And for what it's worth, think about it, guys. Trading is a little 90s, early 2Ks. Like,
I mean, it's a little 1890s, honestly. It's a little trading posty.
Is there another game right now, a digital card game that lets you trade?
Digital, no, but I do think trading is part of the paper experience.
Absolutely.
And it's going to stay there. Is what they're basically saying. They're like, you like that? You can go to Magic Online and check out their awesome trading interface, because it's caused no ends of headaches for Magic Online. You can only trade so many objects. There's these, like, trade binder things, and there's lag, and, like,
dude, trade binder is I hate the new trade binder.
It's so kind of a hot mess. So I appreciate them going straight like Hearthstone and being like, we're not doing trading. You're going to have your dust and gold and whatever you're able to grind things into.
Hopefully they'll just call it mana. You've grounded it into 1600 mana.
Oh God!
So you have to turn it into other cards.
I mean, you're going to be able to turn something into something else, and they'll have some way, some ratio of doing it, just like every other digital card game at this point. There's so much, like, well-trodden paths at this point that all they have to do is just stay on the path, okay? Just right here. There's little levels, and there's mythics, and then the rares, and there's so much dust you get out of each and every one of them, and that's cool. The beta access, they have said, is going to begin in November. Nate Price was talking about it, and sometime in November there's going to be a small number of users who are going to add waves of them throughout the beta. And for what it's worth, I'm actually getting all this information thanks to our friends at Hipsters of the Coast, who've been doing a great job, I think.
They're great, and
wrapping up Magic news.
We met them at that commentator summit. I'm going to post the links in the chats here for y'all to be able to go to the Hipsters of the Coast interview that occurred. But yeah, they definitely wrapped it all up in a nice little bow.
Yeah, and they were talking about how they're going to add, not only cards from Ixalan, but they want to get standard in there, so they're going to have older sets from Kaladesh and Amonkhet. One of the other things they kind of talked about, because I watched some of the live stream, was that the rules engine has gotten to the point where they can actually just kind of plug some cards in and they just work. Because they have a lot of these kind of automatic, kind of things where it's trample or flying or whatever, or certain triggers like drawing a card. All those things are just happening, and they don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel there, which is awesome. And lastly, everyone's going to be under NDA. Like that's just good old fashioned standard practice for testing out card games, or testing out any video games, honestly.
So nobody can stream the beta.
Right. Nor can they
that applies to screenshots too. Yeah.
Right. You can't screenshot it. You can't go talk about it.
Really?
Oh yeah. You're gagged.
Right.
Wow.
No chitter chatter until they say you can.
Yeah.
Which again is not crazy.
No, it's not crazy. It's just unfortunate.
It is.
Also, someone is going to do that by accident. Someone's going to be like, "Lol, top deck lethal," screenshot, and then Wizards of the Coast is going to be like 6-month ban or whatever.
Yeah. I'll believe the rules engine talk when they get to the point where they start adding eternal mechanics and y'all bring Storm into the mix. I want to see how great your engine works when that comes into play, when Dredge comes into play, when Infect comes into play. Like, let's see. I think that's. Why am I stuttering so bad tonight?
It's just, it's a rough night. It's fine.
You're excited. It's tough to get the ideas out of your head.
There we go. But yeah, I think that's going to be the true test of this rules engine is when you start getting to these really obnoxious mechanics.
I mean, we also have overwhelming splendor in standard right now. That's a tough one to implement online, right?
Yeah.
As Pharmacist Judge points out, humilities in standard. There you go. Evan, you talked about during the pre-show that there was a conspiracy theory, a tinfoil hat idea. Was this you that brought this up?
I don't think so, but
I heard about it. Yeah,
this was Erin.
So in the Twitter thread that was going around, started by Martin Yuza, about how bad the limited format was, there were some people that had their tinfoil hats on that were saying that they felt like Ixalan had very simple cards, and the purpose for that was that they were gearing up for Arena and Hearthstone having sort of simple cards, and that this was sort of done to kind of pave the way for that. And I don't know if there's any truth that I don't play Hearthstone, but that was an interesting theory as to why this format seems so bland, or why the cards seem so generic, is that they're meant to be, kind of easily digestible.
And to which I point to a 5-line mechanic that is in the set.
Right.
Explore
is a pretty complicated. Now, to be fair, it's a complicated mechanic to read.
Yes.
But it's probably pretty easy to implement online. It doesn't translate well to English, but it translates really well to the game itself. If you've played with Explorer, which, by the way, I love Explorer as a mechanic. I think it fixes a lot of problems in a way that like cycling does and landfall does. I actually like it quite a bit. But yeah, you're right. It is a lot of words. It's a long walk to get to a simple ability. So that particular tinfoil hat theory may hold some water.
Now, one of the last things that Hipsters of the Coast doesn't actually mention, but I recall in the stream itself, was someone asked about, EDH. Like, I want to play Commander. Like, can I play Commander? And they're like, well, right now we're on 1v1. We're on the 1v1 train.
Right.
And I think this was 100% correct. And the game, the head designer was like, look, many games have gotten off track because they're trying to just do everything all at once. We're going to do 1v1, and we're going to do it awesome, and then we're going to see where we go from there. And that, I think, is 100% the attitude you should have.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Commander, did you hear about that dual Commander ban list?
Oh, do tell.
Oh my God! So I'm still a little unclear.
They burned it to the ground.
So, literally.
Wow.
So I'm still a little unclear on this. So if chat can clear it up, I'd appreciate it. So is dual Commander 1v1, or is that a difference? I heard it described as French Commander.
It's
that
1v1.
word was going around. It is 1v1. Okay.
1v1 dual French. Missionary position commander. I don't know.
Oh, Jesus.
I couldn't figure it
out.
I don't play. I think they're all the same names for the same thing.
Okay, well, I don't know if these changes are going to be carrying over to Magic Online, but I did see that there was a post posted to Facebook where they had announced several. There was a website that announced several bans to 1v1. Edgar Markov was banned right off the top, and they also proceeded to ban several burn cards. Eidolon of the Great Revel was banned. Fire Blast was banned. Price of Progress was banned. And I don't see a problem here. But apparently there are some people that are very upset about this. And they've decided that they will not be playing that format because of these changes. Whereas I'm more likely to play the format because of these changes.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
if the deck is too powerful, and a lot of the burn spell. This is what makes burn a great archetype in Cube. And certain archetypes in Cube are great because there are so many effects that are so similar to each other. This is why you can put Reanimators in Cube and White Weenie in Cubes, because there are so many burn spells that are like, they're not as good as Lightning Bolt, but they're like almost Lightning Bolt. And so when you have a format that only has one of each card, like Cube or like 1v1 Commander, you know, the critical mass of those cards ends up making them too powerful. So I certainly understand the issue here.
I mean, I want my lightning bolts into my chain lightnings, into my incinerates, into my lightning strikes,
my lava spikes, and my searing blazes. I mean, they're all basically the same card, right? For slightly different. They have slightly different words, but they're very, very, very similar. And so I can understand why the most powerful among them, namely Price of Progress, which seems just unreasonably powerful in a 1v1 format when you're trying to burn your opponent out, are all completely reasonable.
Speaking of mono red, I don't know if you saw this, Ruben, but I played mono red in the VSL last night.
I have heard.
How'd it go?
Mono red vintage, first of all, didn't have things like Fire Blast in your deck, I hope.
No, but I definitely regret not having some Pyroblasts. I definitely should have put some in there. But I ended up finishing 1 and 2. I had a really good time. Got a couple turn 1 Blood Moons off. Got some Blood Moons off. Poor Dave Williams didn't have any basics in his deck. So I didn't beat him by getting him to 0. I beat him simply by locking him out of mana, where he was like, I can literally do nothing right now. So I felt very bad about that, but everybody was very sweet to me. The games were very fun. Who gets to say they played against Bob Maher, for God's sakes?
Right.
Like he schooled me, but I can say I played against Dark Confidant. Like, that's really awesome. And so it was really great seeing the reactions from chat. They were like, Erin Campbell's playing Mountains, what? And I gave you a little shout out. I gave my little friend Ruben Bressler, loves his red, and so it was a very good time.
I'm a big fan of Mountains.
And I saw this in the chat, but it's interesting, and I'm going to bring it up because reasons. It's our show. We do what we want. Apparently, Hugh Hefner's just died, unfortunately.
Yes, 91.
At 91. That's
Speaking of mountains.
Wow.
Yeah. Speaking of pairs of mountains.
It's good work out of you.
To sacrifice.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
He lived his best life, and now we get to move on.
Well, so we're going to move on to Gather the Townsfolk. And we're going to start out with a thread. I'll bring up a thing that I tweeted earlier, was it today?
Yeah.
Where... Yeah, so let's see here. Okay, so here's my tweet. I retweeted Martin Yuza, who happens to be kind of sort of great at Magic, who says this is the worst limited format of all time. More than half the cards in every pack are just stone unplayables. And I was like, that's a bold statement. Does anyone else feel this way? What specifically do you feel is the problem? And so some people are saying they love Sealed, and a lot of people are saying they hated Sealed. And then there's some people like Wedge who's like, I don't feel this way. And then some other people are like, well, I think it's kind of bad too. And it just kind of goes back and forth and back and forth. So Ruben, for someone who has drafted a lot of this set, tell us what your thoughts are on the format at this point.
Personally, I love this format. I think that this format is very skill testing. In terms of what you select at every point in the draft. It reminds me actually a lot of core set drafting. Sure, a lot of the cards are pretty simplistic. There are a lot of like vanilla creatures with one keyword on them.
French vanilla, if you will.
French vanilla creatures. A lot of like just generic idiots with Explore, or generic idiots with Lifelink, or generic idiots with Lifelink and Explore. It's a little simplified. A lot of folks think that it's like drafting on rails, like a lot of tribal sets are. I don't think that is necessarily the case. I've seen a lot of archetypes spring up that aren't necessarily tribal. There are several cards in the set that you need to be tribal in order to get maximum benefit out of. There are particularly a lot of the uncommons seem to reward having tribal synergies and are stone unplayable unless you have 10 plus of one tribe in your deck. But there are a lot of just good cards. there's a territorial dinosaur that's like 2 colorless and a white 2/3 that whenever it attacks you tap a blocker an opponent controls. That is a really good common.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that it's not a historically bad format. This is not Avacyn Restored. This is not Gate Crash.
Cold Snap.
This is Cold Snap. This is not Cold Snap. This is not Onslaught Legions. This is not a best ever, certainly. You know, you look back at Innistrad or like Return to Ravnica, you know, Triple Return to Ravnica. It's not that, but I think it's perfectly fine. You know, it's fun for me so far. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's partially because I've been drafting mostly the same archetype, which I did a lot of, to be fair, with Amonkhet Hour of Devastation. I would just take every Gift of Paradise that I saw. And in this set, I'm just taking every Contract Killing and Prosperous Pirates that I see. And that's just what I'm doing. So that might be my skewed opinion on it, right. But certainly the hot take from Martin Juza of, quote, this is the worst limited format of all time is patently ridiculous.
I just can't. If you think that's true, I can't imagine that he played a lot of either Avacyn Restored or Cold Snap. Like, legitimately,
or
you
like
want
Oath of the Gatewatch.
You want to taste your tears? Like,
yeah.
Just go play with those terrible sets. They did this weird thing where they had like a Cold Snap draft in the top 8 of the GP. You remember that? It was like Kansas City. Yeah. And
so stupid.
it was like a standard GP, but the top 8, or it was like a limited GP, but the top 8 was Cold Snap draft. It was messed up, and whoever got the most Ripple cards wins.
Yeah,
whoopity crap! Look up Ripple if you don't know what it does, and then go like, really in a draft? Yeah, really.
Yeah.
It was sad.
Ripple 2-1s.
It's just go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, and I like this set for the reasons that you mentioned, Ruben. You know, I'm not a sealed player usually. I can't draft my way out of a paper bag. You know, I like to describe drafting. When I draft, it's like putting my forehead to a baseball bat, spinning around, and then I try to walk in a straight line. That's what my decks end up looking like. I can't draft. When I see a sealed pool, it feels like a Rorschach test that I fail every time. You know, you look at a sealed pool and it's like, what do you see? And I'm like, I see a green-blue aggro deck, and they're like, wrong. It's a black-white control deck. But you know, sets like this one and sets like Return to Ravnica feel, again, being on the rails for me is what I need as a beginner to sealed, as somebody who's not very good. I did very well in Return to Ravnica sealed. You know, I found it was very easy for me to build decks. I found like I didn't feel so confused, and it made a lot of sense to me, and I feel that with this set as well. And so for somebody who isn't usually a sealed player, I like this set for all of the reasons that you mentioned with my skill set and how I learn things.
And I think it's possible that that's why one of, if not the best limited player in the world doesn't like this limited format.
He doesn't feel challenged.
He doesn't feel challenged, and the gap is closed between because you are given more hints. You know what I mean? Like you've turned on the blue line in your Skyrim game, and you know where to go next. As opposed to more skill-intensive formats where you open up a pool of Innistrad and you're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing here. There's 15 archetypes that are draftable. You know, and the other thing that is interesting to me is that there was a very interesting design. I guess this would be design decision to have a game, Magic the Gathering, that is very clearly 5 factions trying to have 4 tribes. And that is a very difficult needle to thread in terms of designing your set.
Right.
And the fact that they managed to do it with the 2/3 colors and the 2/2 colors, while also having other archetypes that are possible to be drafted, is very interesting to me. And when you try to take risks like that, you're usually not going to have the best sets ever. Mm-hmm. Add that to the fact that this is a tribal set and you have a lot of tribal synergies, and so there's a lot more drafting on the rails, and you get a set that I can understand that the pros like Martin Juza might not appreciate, but personally for me, and I draft a lot, but personally for me, I like it. I tend to be a guy that likes tribal sets. Lorwyn is like my favorite set to draft of all time. But I can understand the perspective. I'll just disagree with it.
I also get in those weird ruts where like I literally just start drafting the same deck over and over and I can't stop. Like
I do that all the time.
An hour of Devastation, I just drafted blue-red, like literally just blue-red. Every deck was blue-red.
The blue-red like tempo bounce deck?
Yeah, I just loved it, and I could always I knew what cards were good in it, and they always kept giving them to me, and I was like, well, I gotta take it. It's right there.
I was the exact same way with the Manolith decks in
Nice.
I just always drafted Bant Control. I just always was like, well, there's my second Sandblast. That's enough of those. There's my second Manolith. That's enough of those. Got to hit my 2 2s, my 10 3s, and then my 4s, 5s, 6s, and 7s, and then I'm good. Like, I always had the same curve, always had the same cards. I get in ruts like that, too.
I did something similar with Khans of Tarkir. I used to do this thing where I would draft, I think Marshall had taught me this or talked about unlimited resources, but for the first go-round, for the first pack, I would just draft lands. And then for packs 2 and 3, I would just grab things to sort of match the colors that I picked. And Khans was another format that felt very easy for me. And I just consistently just had good decks by grabbing lands first and then going, okay, I've got 3 colors of lands here. Let's fill it up. And I really enjoyed that format.
Yeah, 5-color morph was another one that I was always on board.
Absolutely.
So, something else announced this week, which is a new set of Judge Foils. The Summer 2017 Judge Foils were announced on the Magic Judges Twitter feed. This is Wave 10, as they call it here. And I'll bring up the first one, which is Gaddock Teeg, which actually made an appearance in my top 10 Celestia cards,
yeah,
if you guys want to go check out that piece of content. But Gaddock Teeg, it came from Lorwyn. For those who don't know, it's a green and white 2/2 legend Kithkin Advisor. It had non-creature spells with convert mana cost 4 or greater can't be cast. Non-creature spells with X in their mana costs can't be cast. So no Wrath of Gods, no Cryptic Commands, no X spells, no Force of Wills. Gaddock Teeg is awesome and now gets a super cool Judge Foil.
Fabulous. I love this new art, too. It's a lot more in character with what I imagined Gaddock Teeg of being the wisest of the Sen leaders of the Kithkin and being a politician and a speaker and having that high charisma score. This is a great choice. And these were like up to, what, $60 at one point? So it definitely needed a reprint of some kind.
I mean, yeah, of some bid. Basically, the Judge Foils are rarely printed enough to impact the price of the things, but it does also reward the judges, which is great. So Gaddock Teeg getting a reprinting in any form is exceptional. Capture of Jingzhou, I believe that's correct. Yeah, 2 blue and 3. I'm Southern. 2 blue and 3 generic mana for a rare sorcery. This came from Portal 3 Kingdoms, and you take an extra turn into this one. It's it's what, time warp
from Portal? Yeah, time warp from Portal 3 Kingdoms.
Exactly. It's that option. So when you're trying to build a commander deck and you're looking for things like you want to do the extra turns deck, and I've played with the extra turns deck before, and this was years ago and it was amazing. God knows what it's doing these days with Part the Water Veil and all this other craziness. But you can go and find every time walk quote effect, time walk, time warp. This one, every other one. Part the Water Veil showed up, which is cool. But it's nice to see a reprint of this as well. Yeah.
It's funny to me that this one is actually a functional reprint of another card that has a Judge Foil, which was Temporal Manipulation.
Yeah.
Which was exactly the same as Time Warp. It's just a bunch of the same things, except for the Temporal Manipulation was from Portal 2, and this is from 3 Kingdoms. But yeah, another card that every time that you print a EDH staple from Portal 3 Kingdoms, it's a good idea. So there you go. It's a good Judge promo.
Because judges love anything and all things Commander.
Absolutely, yeah.
So next up is Doran the Siege Tower with some amazing artwork. Holy cow. Is that Rob Alexander? That is Rob Alexander with a new version of Doran the Siege Tower. So for those who weren't around for Lorwyn, it's a black, green, and white legendary Treefolk Shaman. It's an 05 that has an amazing sentence on it which says each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. That's amazing. And
it's just gorgeous.
It's beautiful for those who can see it on the screen, and it's great because Forsyth, I recall him sort of saying like, well, they were talking about Doran and what should Doran do, what should the Treefolk do, how do they make themselves unique, and they're just kind of sitting there thinking about it, and it's like, well, what if they assign their combat damage equal to their toughness than power, and like that was it. That was the light came on, and it's amazing, and it fit the Treefolk so well. And Wizards kind of brings it in just a little bit, but I wish they would use that a little bit more often. I think that's a really sweet and interesting way to deal with creatures.
Well, you've got the most recent Doran, which is going straight into the Fat Guy B's cube, which is the belligerent Brontodon from the new set. It's a 4/6 for 7 from the new set that has this line of text on it.
Yeah.
Except for it's your creatures, not just all creatures.
Sure.
But yeah, Doran was the OG of that of the butt fight kind of ability, and the new art is interesting and new, and yeah, I'm excited that this got the promo treatment as well.
Hashtag butt fight.
Butt fight. Well, there was a card that was called Butt Fight, right?
No.
It was colorless black-green, where target creature deals damage. Like two creatures fight, except for they assign to their toughness. Yeah, it was Butt Fight.
And that was more butt fighty.
Yeah.
I didn't know I'd ever say those words out of my mouth. Okay. And lastly, we have a card who I'm pretty sure if you don't play Commander, you have no idea what this card is, because I don't play Commander and I had no idea what this card was.
I had no idea what this card was.
But it's Prismatic Geoscope, which is a 5 generic mana artifact. Enters the battlefield tapped. It has Domain. Good old-fashioned invasion mechanic that cares about the number of basic land types among the lands you control. It has tap : add X mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool, where X is the number of basic land types amongst lands you control. So that, in and of itself, like an expensive artifact that you're never going to be able to play competitively, but it's going to be amazing.
It's a Gilded Lotus,
It's going to be amazing in Commander.
It's like a Gilded Lotus that gets you a bonus for being even more ridiculous. Yeah, probably a great promo. I mean, this was only in one set so far, Commander 2016, so, like, maybe this is a good promo.
I've seen people suggest it as a card for the new Dragons deck, the pre-con. I've seen people suggest that, because anytime the Commander decks come out, there's always the articles of, they're not the best, and here's some upgrades you can do to really make them more competitive. And I went through some lists this past weekend because we're trying to upgrade the Boyfriend's Dragon deck, and I consistently saw lists that were like, use the Geoscope, and so it has a home, definitely has a home.
Yeah, and it's just funny because, like, it's a Gaddock Teeg, Doran the Siege Tower, Portal 3 Kingdoms rare, and this weird Commander artifact thing that you probably have no idea what it is.
You need a way to cast your Doran.
Exactly right, and we're not the topic. We're not the people that this is going for.
This ain't the target.
We aren't the target audience. That's what we're
not the target audience.
We're not the 18 to 25 demographic.
So we're gonna move on here to
different demographic for judges. I get it.
Desperate Ravings. This week, someone reported on Reddit about an interesting Wizards survey. They got a survey from a research firm on behalf of Wizards, and Wizards does this all the time. We just don't get to really hear about it a lot of the time. But this person came in and said, well, first of all, it makes you prove that you know how to play Magic. Things like, how would you play this? Is this about what a booster pack looks like? Is this what a spell looks like? And yada yada. But once you prove that, it was asking them questions about whether a code card that you would redeem for something on Magic Online or something in Magic Arena, if it has one price when it includes a code card, when the booster pack has a code card, or another price when a booster pack has no code card, and or if it has a code card and it's more expensive, or a code card and it's the same amount, and what would you pay, and would you pay more, and so on and so forth. And I think there's a couple ways to think about this. I mean, one, clearly Wizards is going to have to pay for the very expensive video game development they're doing right now. Like, developing video games takes infinite dollars. They're pumping lots of money in here. The ability to say we can make the packs 30-40 cents more expensive and put the code cards in there, and that can be part of the way that they pay for the development, part of the way that they fuel MTG Arena. That's a thing I can see basically just from a business perspective. From a Magic player perspective, don't change the prices. That's terrible. Just change out the tip cards and or what might have been a token with an MTG Arena code. Like, I want that. In fact, I would love to have an MTG Arena code in every single one. And every single vendor would as well, by the way, because if anything is in a Magic pack, if literally anything is inside that wrapper, it can be bought and sold. Now, maybe it might not be worth a lot, and those tip cards ended up being worth actual zero, but things like the tokens, things like the checklist cards, like that's some of the little tiny bread and butter that card shops are able to use and sort of resell at their profits. So be able to have MTG Arena codes, be able to sell them, like people sell their Pokemon cards, that have the codes on them. Same thing. So that to me is the ecosystem I want to borrow, which is if I were to buy a bundle of Ixalan, an Ixalan bundle for like $40 or whatever it is, and if I bring it home and inside it has a code for me to go to MTG Arena and get a bundle there, like that is my paradise. That's where I want it to be. Is that you're giving me a digital equivalent, you're rewarding me for buying something in paper, you're able to give me a digital experience of the same thing I bought, that's offline and online. That to me is awesome. I don't know about paying more for it though.
Yeah, that's the issue. Is like the benefit's great, but who's gonna pay $5 for a pack of regular Magic cards? Like, it's been $4 forever, right?
It's been $4 for like 11 years.
Yeah. So I mean, that's gonna be rough, man. I think.
That's
like
gonna...
I can't. I don't know. So it's like, so you know when gas hits $4, people are like, man, I really don't like paying $4 for gas. But then it hits $5 and people stop driving places. Yeah. Like, that's what I'm picking. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen here. Is like, if it depends on, it really also depends on what the card does, like what the insert does. Mm-hmm. Like if it gets you a whole draft online, then sweet, that's great. That's 2 drafts for the price of, that's 2 packs for the price of 1. So that's 2 drafts for the price of 1 draft. That's insane. Personally, I don't buy a lot of packs. I buy like when I played Magic, I've like dealt in singles a lot. So like LGS is selling the promo packs, I guess, would be a thing also.
Absolutely.
Which I think is going to be a weird thing for people to have to get used to also. And how are we going to guarantee that they haven't been used already? Are they going to be like a scratch off?
Let me tell you, here's how Pokemon works, okay? Because Cool Stuff sells Pokemon and also sells the Pokemon code cards. We do not buy any code cards. We will sell them because we open them out of packs. Therefore, we know 100% that they're good and they're redeemable. But we won't buy any from people who are selling us cards because we don't know whether or not they're redeemed, and it's too much work to go check. And I would expect that here. But the idea to say, hey, there's a booster pack that costs X and there's a booster pack that costs Y, and it's more expensive, but it has a code card in it. Do you care? Not really sure. However,
right.
I do think, if anything, Wizards is going to be able to use this as a tool in whatever product they want. When they want to juice, let's say, the next Modern Masters set, right? Well, if you got a free draft in every pack or a free draft in every 3 packs, how many more packs of Modern Masters are you going to buy? Because you're able to get something digital, a 0 and a 1, that costs them very, very little, but provides way more value out of that pack thanks to that.
Yeah, the sticker shock is just so much to me, though. Like, I understand that $1 for a pack of Magic cards online in your pack of Magic cards that you're already buying is a lot. But this takes your F&M buy-in price from $15 to probably $20, right? Because the average price of a pack goes from $4 to $5 or higher. And you still need to have that extra juice to be able to get the prize packs going. So what are we really buying here? And that's the other thing, is what are these codes going to give us? I don't know what the code is going to give me. So that's my problem, is would you buy it for a promo code? And it's like, well, the promo code could be anything. It could even be a boat, and I just don't know what the promo code is. And until I know that, then I don't know what this dollar is buying. So
I'm excited because I know from building promotions and being able to take things and kind of work them in your favor. Wizards has so many knobs to turn here. Like you get a Liliana of the Veil, if you buy X product, or you get a San Diego Comic-Con set, you get to get that Comic-Con version of those Planeswalkers in MTG Arena or whatever. Right. Like you're able to really take the value of something and pump it up with something digital, which has a very low overhead. And I think that's where ultimately Wizards is at. Again, subsidiary of Hasbro. These guys got to make money. I get it, and it's really interesting to me how they're going to do so.
Is Pokemon still owned by Hasbro?
No. I think it's
the Pokemon company at this point. They could just directly port over what Pokemon does. If it works for Pokemon, then just directly port what Pokemon does. If they were owned by the same company.
I don't believe
I kind of worry about the fallout from this. The money has to come from somewhere, and so I worry that if this does happen and they do end up increasing the price of packs, if a TO is then responsible for providing packs for an event, does that mean the cost of events is going to go up? I've certainly heard
excuse at least.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard rumors that costs are going to be going up once CFB takes over, and so you have to wonder, is that in response to the possibility of packs going up? Events are already expensive, as they are. We're looking at $100 for a GP now, $75 to $100, and so if there's a sealed GP, I wonder if that's going. I just wonder the fallout of this. I think talking about it from the LGS level is valid, but I'm wondering on the grand scheme of things, are we going to end up paying for this in other ways?
And it's possible. I mean, I think, but Wizards knows that their bread and butter is LGSs. They want to make sure that your local game stores are supported and people show up to events and they're encouraged to show up to events. And this is one way that Wizards can do so. And that much I appreciate.
It's going to be interesting how much they can turn the knob on the price. I mean, I played a lot of Lemonade Tycoon in my spare time in high school. How expensive can you make the lemonade before people just stop buying it?
Yeah.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll move on now to Splash Damage, where we talk something it's related to Magic, but not necessarily exactly Magic. And 6 days ago, as it turns out, John Avon announced his Unhinged playmat Kickstarter, which is pretty freaking sweet. We'll bring it on the screen now. It's made at this point $134,000.
Jesus.
That's just under 99, or that's just under 100,000 pounds. You know, English pounds. Which
but his goal
amazing.
was only 6,700.
Right.
Yeah.
6,700. Yeah.
And because they matched their latest stretch goal, I believe it's every single backer is going to get an unstable land print of their choice.
That's awesome.
Which is amazing. And this is incredible for John Avon. I'm super happy for him. I've met him many times, had him out to events for Star City. You know, Avon is one of the coolest, most awesome artists out there. He works really hard and he does an amazing job. And this is great to see. So it has 7 days to go. So in 7 days, we'll be talking about what the end of this thing looks like. But right now, we're at almost 100,000 pounds, over $134,000, 2,231 backers. You too can be one of those backers. Check out the links in the description, or go to
wild,
or go find it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The 119 pound or $161 level, where you get one of each playmat, is insane value. Free anywhere in the world, and you get one of each playmat for like $24, and these are going to MSRP for $30 to $40.
Yeah,
like that's pretty
I'm in
good.
love with these doodles. So for those who aren't able to see this, so there's the plain mat that's basically just the land art, but then there's these things called doodle playmats, which include a design of John's choice and be signed. So I'm looking at the swamp one, and it is amazing. There's like these squiggles in the water. He's like extended some branches. He's lined them a little more closely. These are amazing.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure all those sold out immediately, by the way. The doodle options, those
the
were
doodle
gone.
Options sold out like snap immediately. Aaron, obviously, big John Avon Unhinged playmat and art fan and aficionado. So
except for the mountain
rally as well. Except for the mountain, which is cool.
It's in my closet.
If you don't want all 5 and you only want the non-mountain playmats, you can get each playmat on his Kickstarter for 27 pounds, or about $40 a piece. So it's actually cheaper to just buy all 5 and throw away the extra one.
Just burn it, get rid of it. Don't say nothing.
I only want 4 chicken nuggets. So open the box, throw away a chicken nugget, and give me my 4 chicken nuggets. That's a little Tenacious D reference for everybody. Everybody was
very
in
nice.
any case, this is a great, you know.
This is a fantastic thing for John.
Super excited.
Go support him. If you like Avon stuff, this is your chance to do so when the iron's hot. Okay, so there was
For Christmas, great Christmas gifts.
Great Christmas gift. Absolutely. So PAX Unplugged is happening. I'm going to be at PAX Unplugged.
Oh.
Yeah, which is sweet because they just announced today that Chris Cox, the president of Wizards of the Coast and Aaron's favorite staff member of that company, is going to do
LOL staff, LOL Cox.
Stop! No! It's right there. PAX Unplugged keynote being given by the Wizards of the Coast president in the inaugural tabletop gaming convention. This is the part where, you know, I feel like they're going to really, really embrace D&D. This is the part where they get a chance to be like, this is tabletop is D&D. Like, Wizards of the Coast also owns Avalon Hill. So if you've heard of Betrayal on House of the Hill, you know, Betrayal at Baldur's Gate, which is actually there's something they're making right now, that is also Wizards of the Coast. So Wizards of the Coast has their hands and has their fingers in different tabletop areas, but clearly D&D's the winner. So I'm really curious to see what Chris is going to say, because I will absolutely be there with bells on and will be happily tweeting exactly what's going on to everybody so they can keep up, because this has to be fascinating.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see if he is the keynote speaker, if we get more information on, calling it back to the beginning of the episode, MTG Arena, because this will be in November, right?
Yeah.
Middle of November. And that's
November 17th through the 19th, yeah.
And that's when the beta's open, and they're going to start implementing new stuff. So that's going to be super interesting. Obviously, I'm super into all of the D&D related things. Baldur's Gate is a location in the Forgotten Realms, I believe.
Yeah.
And so, this is going to be pretty interesting. Wizards of the Coast much more aligned with PAX and Penny Arcade than they, in recent years at least, than they are with Gen Con. And so to see them at PAX is refreshing, and they're re-upping their sort of allegiance with PAX. And so I'm really excited to see exactly what comes down from this this talk.
Woohoo! And so for anybody who's going to be at PAX Unplugged, feel free to say hello, because I'll be hanging out and checking out the show, which will be really fun.
Yeah, a rare Irwin sighting out in the wild.
We'll
Get
also
that David Attenborough voice. And now we see the rare Evan Irwin out in the wild in his native habitat. Usually a shy animal, staying away from large groups. However, today has come out to forage for new magic content.
So I'm just imagining I've been going through PAX like a dinosaur now.
What is this place?
I didn't know I could do a David Attenborough impression.
That was fantastic.
But you got there, and
Turns out I can do that.
CoolStuffInc.com will have a booth at PAX Unplugged, so that's one of it. Their half is keeping the finger on the pulse of the tabletop industry is one of my jobs, which is super fun and super fascinating. Now I'm able to look beyond the scope of Magic. It's really interesting, is the way that I'd put it. That said, now you guys
made it through the press release without laughing at his name.
Right, you did so well.
I tried too. I tried really hard. LOL hard, LOL staff, LOL Cox.
There's also a line in the press release there's also a line in the press release that I can't look at because it's gold, and I can't. I'm just not looking at it.
We can't.
Hold on, let me see if I can find it.
We're all 13 years old. Okay, so
once I find it, I'll scream it in the middle of whatever you're talking about.
Do what you got to do, buddy. Just be you. So, Erin, tell me about BuzzFeed's People Play Magic for the First Time, because I didn't actually get a chance to see this yet.
Yeah, so there was a video that came out recently. Melissa DeTora, Gavin Verhey, and Matt Tabak visited BuzzFeed in Los Angeles, and they brought a bunch of packs with them, and they basically taught, I guess BuzzFeed has a game night or a game day, and they taught the BuzzFeed staff how to play Magic the Gathering, and then they did these sort of one-on-one interviews, very real-world style, with like a table in the background, and Melissa and Gavin gave a summary of what Magic is and how it works, and then the BuzzFeed staff got to talk about their experiences with it, their impressions going into it, like this is what we know about Magic, this is what we don't know. And it was really great. I really enjoyed watching this. It was really great to sort of see the aha moments, from the people who had never really heard of Magic, who'd never really gamed before, and, weren't really sure going into it. And then when they started to understand what was happening, where it's like, oh, this is what an instant means, this is what attacking does. I can do things on different turns. There are different turns. And so that moment will never, ever get old for me. And I enjoyed watching this video. I watched it twice.
Absolutely. All right. So
they had a couple of people who were like, yeah, I used to play Magic 20 years ago or 15 years ago. It's pretty.
It really is a gateway game for a lot of people. Especially you look at things like the Game of Throneses and things like that, and people, somebody brought up a really good point in the video. There are always going to be two-handed swords and axes and orcs and dragons, and for a lot of people, this was their first exposure to that sort of thing.
Okay, two things before we move on. One, is it the line that says, quote, Cox has enjoyed a lengthy career in gaming? Is that the one?
Oh, that's got to be the one.
That's got to be it.
It's so lengthy. All right, it's
quite lengthy. And the second one I wanted to say is, turns out J.R.R. Tolkien invented orcs. There were not orcs before J.R.R. Tolkien. So we think about orcs as being similar to goblins and humans and mermaids, but actually they were just invented like 100 years ago.
Orcs have also had a lengthy career.
They've had a lengthy career. A little bit less lengthy. It's a little bit more stout.
Wow. Some of the girth of their influence.
But their girth of their influence, exactly right, is more than makes up for their length.
It does. It's how
I'm told.
It's how they used it. All right. So I really wanted to touch here real fast. Something I've been playing over the last week or so, because Magic Online, as I understand it, is also very highly lagged because everybody and their mother wants to play Ixalan. Those are good problems, and I'm happy for Magic Online. However, I've also been getting into Eternal. Eternal is made by Direwolf Digital, where LSV works, where Chapin works, where other sort of famous, like Conley Woods works there.
Magic people work there.
Infinite Magic people work there. And let me tell you, it's fun because for me, Eternal is very much like Magic. And in fact, I would say it's exactly like Magic before Lorwyn. If you liked Magic before Planeswalkers, you're going to love Eternal because there are no Planeswalkers in Eternal. There's 5 colors. You know, the colors do different stuff. You know, the green in Eternal, like, has the Wrath of God or whatever. But it's fine, whatever. It's all the different abilities. Who cares? The point is that I've kind of been, you know, I've played it for a little while. I've been dipping my toes into it, and I've been playing some more sort of the Hearthstone Arena-esque version of what they have. I think they call it the Gauntlet, where you pick some cards and you play against other players, and there's other things you can play against the computer, and that's great. But I actually got into Constructed this week, and wow. It's amazing. It's super duper fun. There's a ton of awesome archetypes. It didn't cost me an arm and a leg. Like, yeah, I had to run 2 crappy cards while I built up to get my 2 like mythics or whatever I was missing. But that doesn't matter. The point was that I had so much fun because it felt so much like old school Magic, and it really at that point felt to me like, wow, this is where I can see. I feel like I see the hooks of the Magic pros who are working on this game, because the way that it works and the sort of the swings that you can have and the comebacks that you can get and the way the mythics work versus, you know, some of the commons are still great, some of the uncommons are still great and played. There's cheap decks, there's really expensive decks. You know, you can play sort of your way. I had a ton of fun with Eternal, so if you're looking for something a little bit different but is very, very similar to Magic, the Eternal card game, I think, is for you.
Is it expensive?
It's one of those, it's a free-to-play, and if you want to grind, you can grind, because like what I did was I was like, okay, I could put, you know, $50 into this thing or whatever, but no, I'm going to go and I'm going to grind out into dust all the things I don't use. I just want to build this one deck. I played these crappy cards in the interim. I ground out against the computer. I ground out some ranked games. You know, eventually you get to the point, you know, they'll give you some free packs for that stuff. You open some, you know, you open mythics, quote unquote, in their world called legendaries, and then you're able to grind those out for the dust that you need to build the cards that you want. So if you want to do the shortcut, you know, you can pay the money and you can get the stuff that you need to make those cards, or you can do the story stuff. They have sort of a campaign mode. They have this thing called the Gauntlet where you're able to play. Actually, I misspoke earlier. The Gauntlet's where you play against the computer. But the point is, you have the ability to not pay anything if you don't want to. But obviously, they encourage you to. And if there's certain things you want to do earlier than later, you'll need to.
Sure. And so, yeah, and a ton of the folks that you've heard of through Magic the Gathering are designers out there. As you mentioned, Chapin, LSV. Pretty sure Conley Woods is on the team out there. There's a lot of crossover. Basically, any Magic player that lives in Denver, there's going to be like a 50% chance that they probably now are working for DWD. And so it's a very if it's created by some of the best Magic minds, it's well worth your time. My producer and one of our regulars in chat, Jay Wiley, is a content producer for Newmont Gaming, and Newmont Gaming puts out a lot of Eternal content as well. I know very little about Eternal personally. I am aware that there's a card called Sandstorm Titan, and that everyone used to play the Darude Sandstorm clip whenever people played it, and then it got a nerf, and then something happened to it, and I don't know if people play it anymore. And then Evan told me that there's an Ancestral Recall that also deals damage in the game. For eight mana, but still, it's like draw 3 cards, then deal damage equal to the number of cards in your hand to a idiot.
That's how I kill people.
Awesome.
Yes,
yeah, there you go.
I play a deck where I have small iterative effects that draw me cards and let me use my little weenies to make them larger, and then later at the end of it, I just like throw everything at your face. It's like everything I want to do that I can't do anymore because, like, you know, Gideon exists or whatever.
So Michael Jacob, Matt Nass, Raptor, apparently all on the team as well.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, quite a few members of the team out there.
You got some goodies out there.
Yeah. # Magic.
Absolutely. So
people.
We have chosen a winner. We've chosen a winter.
Guys,
it's coming in a few months.
Winter is coming.
Sorry. So we do have a winner. I did not forget.
This is for the booster box. So this is a big one.
This is a big one. This is for the booster box of Ixalan. Free booster box thanks to our friends at CoolStuffInc.com. Mr. Jordan K. from Dickinson, North Dakota. Congratulations.
There you go.
There's a lengthy trip to Dickinson, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. Takes a while.
Evan.
Yeah?
I need you to answer. Do you think that Cox has ever brought his staff to Dickinson?
Oh my God, I
Jordan,
can't.
It
Jordan
is a lengthy
K.
journey.
Jordan K, you ship me your information, particularly what your last name is. It's a very long last name, so good luck guessing it for those who are trying. Ship me your last name. Contact us on Twitter. It's the easiest way at Magic Mike's Cast, or contact me at Mr. Orange. We will get you your prize. Congratulations! Thanks for everybody who entered. But with that said, we're turning the corner to the finisher. What if I told you that there is a Reddit thread on Magic TCG right now with over 200 comments of confused commenters asking why Ixalan has so many female pirate captains? Well, that seems like an innocent and not at all controversial topic to bring up with y'all, so why, pray tell, do you think there are so many fragile little lady pirate leaders and so few big strong men at the helm in Ixalan? Ruben?
Well, as a male, I know that I'm quite impulsive and risk-taking, what with the testosterone and the chest hair, whereas women pirates of history past, and there have been a few, are better at the long con. And while the adventurous daredevil spirit may have helped pirate captains of Earth past, when all they had to do was fight other pirates and the East India Trading Company, that attitude is a lot more hazardous when you open the door, you get on the floor, and then you have to battle actual factual dinosaurs.
Erin?
Well, as we all know, women are terrible drivers. That's just science.
It just is.
But being captain of a big, slow boat is a lot easier on my tiny lady brain than one of them fast, complicated, I think you call them automobiles?
Automobiles,
Those things.
Automobiles.
Okay.
Cars, if that's easier. That's a shorter word.
Vehicles? That's
Vehicles.
Yeah.
Now, while there are cannons and gunpowder on Ixalan, just like is the case in most Magic planes, there are no guns. There's no guns in Magic. So as a result, on Ixalan, women have more rights than guns do. Which, in and of itself, pretty spectacular. And that ends another episode of Magic Mike's. Thank you for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Ruben.
Thanks, Evan. See you next week.
You bet. We're going to move on to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-hosts, Erin Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching. I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Visit our website at MagicMikesPodcast.com that exists thanks to our Patreon supporters, or follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe, do everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at Twitch.tv/MagicMikes, on Twitter at MagicMikesCast, on Reddit at Reddit.com/r/MagicMikes, and on Facebook at Facebook.com/MagicMikes. Talk to us privately at MagicMikesPodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMikesPodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week. Same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.